The short terrace part of the tour bus was for non-public cars. It was just for buses, taxis and cycles. I obviously had to take that into consideration when I was doing the replica of the tour bus. So in order to get the accuracy and mileage and times for the tour bus, I had to take that into consideration, and I had to obviously say that if you're going to do the replica of the tour bus regarding time and distance, that needs to be taken into consideration, because the ordinary cars aren't allowed to drive that short terrace part of the route. The short terrace wasn't around at that time for the tour bus. It went a different way. It went onto the South Market Gate, but they more or less the same route anyway. So obviously with me driving it in the car, I'm not permitted to drive that bit in the car, so I realised that I have that in mind, and calculations were made. I done everything I could to make the tour bus route as authentic as possible with that in mind. I bear that in mind, that short bit of the route isn't permitted for ordinary cars. So that was in mind, taken into consideration during the exercise of this. Time I started doing the Guide Friday route, 1996 version. Now it was a tour bus, it didn't do the bus stopping as much, so it was only stopping at the main key points. So it's more or less where I went, down Crichton Street and then onto the Ring Road into the City Quay. I've not reset the mileometer, which is my own fault. 24 miles, I have to reset that now. So I can add on probably about 0.2 miles, because I stupidly forgot to set that tripometer. So I'm about half a mile on, added to that because of that little mistake of mine. But yeah, I just have to estimate maybe about half a mile anyway to here, because it would have had to have gone onto the Ring Road. 0.3, maybe 0.4 mile, but it would probably be quite significant. It is a bit annoying that I forgot that I could maybe do the mileage again when I get to here to get the exact one. I'll just stop the timer and keep the mileage going. So when I came in here, in fact I won't be able to do that because of I'm not going through that again. So I have to carry on going. Probably put in a point, half a mile anyway. It's still a bit annoying that I forgot to reset that at Crichton Street, but never mind. It's not going to be much more than a half mile. No, I did used to come here, I used to reverse. What I'm going to do is a U-turn, because this road there wasn't open. So when I went back, it used to go there, reverse and come back on itself. That's what it used to do. So probably no more than about 0.3 mile, but of course that's not 100% accurate anyway. It would have been more like half a mile, because the tour bus had to go down under the Olympia bridges, because the Olympia Centre was at that time. They had to go in the Ring Road. It was slightly different, but nothing too mega. I'm not going to write home about that. I can add a slight estimate to it, but it's pretty minor. And then it would have come back on here and onto the main route, but because the road layout's all changed, or the Tayside House and everything, the way I went, well, I would have added quite a considerable distance on. But anyway, I've done more or less what I stop back where I started. From there to here isn't a great deal, 0.3 mile. But anyway, the tour bus double back came here and would have now turned left. That was its first point, the City Quay at the Frigate Unicorn, which was closer. Well, it was closer to the Northcar Lightship than that back then. It's further up now. The next place would have been the Discovery Point. So again, I won't be stopping. I'll just continue driving, and I'll do probably the speed limits, because I'll do 30 and 40. The tour bus only done 30 mile an hour maximum anyway, so when I go along the other side I'll just do 38 as well. Now there wasn't obviously service bus, there was only the bus stops for the tourist points. The first one being the City Quay. The next one is the Discovery Point, where the Discovery ship is. That was more or less there, in that, more or less that area. Obviously the V&A's been built now. Before it was the Olympia swimming. That's all gone now. 2013, 2014. Well, this is going back to 1995, 1996. The tour bus started in 95, but I'm doing the 96 version. The reason being is because it used to go down Commercial Street in 95, along the front McManus Gallery, and then down Commercial Street, and then up, turned right on the High Street bit. The pedestrian house changed it in 96. It used to come at the Bairn Bus, and then it went down the the West Market Gate, and then through the High Street that way, and back on the Crichton Street. So this would have been the stop for the Discovery Point, more or less, and then from there it went to Botanic Gardens. So I'm going to do that. Now we're not in a rush, because I'm keeping this as authentic as possible, like tour bus driving speeds. And tour bus, in a car you could whiz around, overtake, and all the rest of it. Past that bus you go another lane and you would be away, and it's clear. You obviously all accelerate it and stuff. But this being trying to resemble and replicate the tour bus, I would have to just sit back and take my time, no rush, just drive like that, When you jump in the car normally you just want to get to where you go as quickly as possible, but in this instance you just sort of like holding back, to try and replicate the tour bus. Now the tour bus would have stopped roughly about here. The layout's similar, but there's new building for that beef here. But it was more or less there for the city, the Discovery Point. Then from the Discovery Point I went along Riverside, which is pretty much the route I'm on now, heading out that way towards the Botanical Gardens. There is a slight anomaly. That bridge that it went over has got a 3-ton weight limit on it now, as you'll see further on. But back then I can't actually remember if it was what the weight limit was, if there was one. But anyway, it's certainly got a 3-ton weight limit on it now, which seems a bit odd, because the tour bus was potentially could be up to about 16 tonne fully loaded, 16, 17 tonne fully loaded. It was about 9-10 tonne empty, so. But it's not a 3-ton weight limit on that bridge, so that's a considerable reduction in weight, 3 tonne, and the bus being much heavier than 3 tonnes. But yeah, it went over that bridge. But I don't know, I can't remember what it was at that time, if it was indeed 3 tonne weight limit. I can't remember when that came out. But anyway, continue along the route. I'm going to go up it anyway in the car, because there's no problem with that. And I'll show you the route that it went. The next stop of interest would have been the Botanical Gardens. So again, I'm going to do the exercise for the time exercise. I'm just going to have to guesstimate roughly, when I analyse, I'll just have to kind of like account for rough times it would take for the tour bus to load up and unload. There wasn't really much in the way of time spent there doing that, but there was a hop on, hop off tour bus open top, Fleetliner, doing my Fleetliner ex Nottingham, UKV 479R by Guide Friday. Used to be PAU 197R when it was roots in Nottingham. I know that from a bus enthusiast. Met a good friend from there, and still friends to this day from the tour bus. So anyway, we're going along Riverside Drive, and the tour bus went along here. Unlike the tour bus we've got now, which is doesn't go anywhere near places like where I reckon it should go. It kind of like doubles back on itself in a way. It's not the best route. I'd have routed it better than that myself. And I just have to ignore the phone because I'm driving, so you can't look at that while I'm driving. Anyway, mile so far, duration 9 minutes. Now the last tour of the day was left Crichton Street at 4 o'clock. That last one went up the Law Hill. But all the other ones from 9 o'clock till, I think it started at 9. All the others just didn't go up the Law Hill. The route I'm doing is the standard route, the one where it doesn't go up the Law Hill, the one that I done most. That was only the last one. I think it got an extra 15 minutes or something to do the Law Hill. I just went up here staying and continued along on the Strathmore Avenue, then turned right on a was it Lawside Road, and then left and then up to the top of the Law Hill, or Dundee Law actually, and then back down again via King Rodney Road, and then along Constitution Road, right along Durham, and then back on the Lockheed bypass. Whereas the standard ones, the ones that I'm doing, the ones that didn't go to the law, just went down Cooper Angus Road, down Lockheed bypass, and then onto the Lockheed Road and down Smellies Lane to Edinburgh. Anyway, that's a bit further on. You'll see that on this drive. And now turning on to where the 3-ton weight limit is, where the Botanical Gardens is. So wee bridge, 3-ton maximum gross weight, 3 tons. So I don't know what it was back in '95. I don't know how it's 3 tons now, why it's 3 tons now, when it went that way. But the bus used to come over here for sure, that's definite. But it's just an anomaly I know, and anyway I find it bizarre that, how this bridge could only be 3 tons, yet I held it must have been close to 20 tons at that time, and now it's down to 3 tons. Anyway, Botanical Gardens is on the right. The tour bus stopped about here roughly, for people wandering on and off of the Botanical Gardens. So then I continued on up here after that drop off. That was the next stop. The next stop, or the point of interest, was the Swallow Hotel. At least it was called that back then. It's a posh hotel, and I went there as well. So I'm en route to that now. This is the route that it took. This is the Perth Road now. I went down the Perth Road. Now I'm going to do the speed limits, no more than, bang on speed limit, 28 mile an hour, because it was a tour bus and it didn't. See, it's all very easy in a car to whiz along, just a little more than a tad above the speed limit, because it's so easy to do that. I'm not saying it's right, I'm just saying it's easy to do that in a car, because it accelerates quick and it's going with the flow of traffic. But with a tour bus, I'm going to resemble the speeds roughly that it would have done. It should have been, it would have took a while to get to these speeds. It doesn't have the same acceleration. So I would have reached probably 28, 30 mile an hour. So I've got to kind of not be biased, and I've got to, I can't just drive the way normally. I've got to drive like as if it was a tour bus, to try and authenticate this exercise, to make it as authentic as possible. Because I'm trying to do a time trial exercise regarding the time that it took for the tour bus to do that full circuit. I don't think it's possible in this day and age. Now with the acceleration of time, this time was sped up to a factor of 2, but it's warped. In other words, it's like the double slit experiment with the Hadron Collider, when the scientists were looking at particles and splitting atoms, nanoparticles and stuff like that. When it was observed, it behaved differently to what it did when it wasn't observed. And doing this exercise and then observing it and analysing it and carrying it out, so it might be different. The time might vary because I'm actually consciously doing it. Whereas I know I drive buses, and I know that some of the times now, really tight for time. There's no danger that you could have done it back then, and yet it supposedly happened back then on certain bus routes. And I done one earlier today, the 17A route, and doing the Gig Friday Open Top Tour bus. I was thinking about that, and I thought it's amazing that they can do that in an hour, because an hour is all it was given to do this vast route. The tour bus we've got now doesn't do anything like this distance, and it struggles to do it in an hour sometimes. The one up in Aberdeen, there's an hour and a half to do something somewhat like the distances that I'm doing on here for what the Dundee one did in 1995. But the traffic wasn't that much, the roads weren't accommodated for the extra traffic anyway. So it's not to do with because there's that much more traffic on the roads. That wouldn't account to this. That wouldn't account for the anomaly. There's no way. It's the time it's sped up that's accounted for. So tour bus always used to turn right here. It was quite a tight one for the tour bus because it's centre reservation. Then it would have continued along here, back up the Riverside Drive, heading for the Swallow Hotel. bang on. I'm doing 38 mile an hour, 39 mile an hour, which, well, actually I'll do 38 because the tour bus can only do 38 mile an hour. I remember that. I remember when I was speaking to the driver, I know that it was only maxed out at 38. It was a Daimler Fleetliner, an old Daimler Fleetliner, R-Reg 976 X Nottingham. No, watch these lanes at all. They've changed the road layout because they've got lights here, so that's straight on. That's in the right hand lane for going straight on in this instance. If you're in the left hand lane, it's a left turn on the A90 to Perth. That's not the way I want to be going. I want to go straight on, so I've got to be in the right hand lane. Turn the right, I'm going straight on in this instance. So, tour bus would have went on, so there wasn't a traffic lights here, but it was a busy circle, and it took sometimes a while for it to get out, so this traffic lights is kind of authenticating it by delaying me a bit. That would have made up for maybe some of the stop times. So you've got to take that into consideration when I do the analysis for the times. And driving the car, not stopping the places, but I could add in a little bit of guesstimated time for that. Get into the Swallow Hotel. I don't think it's called that anymore. I'm not sure what it's called now, but I definitely went into this one. I think it was called the Swallow Hotel or something back then. I'm just going to go in a wee bit, come out again, because the bus used to go in, they drop off and pick up, and then it came out. So I'm going to do. I didn't go right in, it just went in so far. I'm just going to do something similar, but I'm not going past any of these camera things or anything. You've got to pay and all this stuff, and just resembling what the tour bus done. Try to replicate what the tour bus done as best as I could. The entrance is different. It used to go in where the bricks are, that Bollars. Sure, it used to go in there. Might have been work actually. It may have been this one after all. It might be that, but anyway, it's more or less here. No. I'm just gonna. Come on. I'm just going to turn a pen display. I better not be any of these number plate things. Come on, it is. So I'm just try it. I'm not going to go in there and get the number plate taken in, because I know it's the number recognition thing, but I've never actually gone in, so I don't know what I better not be charged for that. Because it's like one of these things that take your place. I didn't actually go right in, I just turned. That's something you've got to watch for, by the way. See, when you go into places like that, you've got to watch it. Even if you're just turning there, you've got to be sure that you don't get your zapped. And your, I'm going to just wait here, because I don't think I'm going to get round that. But I might. Anyway, she's letting me through, so that's good. I can take that wide and get into that space there. That was good of her to do that. Hazards to the tanker for that. Right, so I wouldn't say that I went really into grounds. And the time in and time out was in the same minute, so surely they carry. What's he doing? Is he come on? Lights went back to red again, but that's okay. I'm not in a hurry because I'm replicating the tour bus, so at the end of the day it doesn't really matter, because the tour bus would have spent time loading up with passengers and stuff anyway, so it doesn't really. I'm not in a rush and taking my time. All the better. Any delays like this adds to the authenticity of it being the tour bus stopping and loading up. And the bus was obviously a lot slower for manoeuvring than it does in a car, so what's the advantage to be held up like this? It kind of keeps it more authenticated. Oh, and doing it during the day as well, and recording it during the day, I can actually see the routes that I'm doing, and there's traffic, whereas doing it in the small hours would be probably harder in a way, because wouldn't it be you'd be more inclined to go quicker in a car at night when there's no other traffic around. But when there's always one behind, wonder why you're only doing 28 or 30 and all this stuff right on your, right on your arse tailgate. And the smaller hours, I'd be trying to pass you and all, because there's you'd be like, what are they going to slow for in the small hours? But during, because it's so easy just to go faster at night. I'm not saying it's right to do that, but when there's no traffic on the road, it's easier to go, just a wee bit, a tad above. It doesn't excuse it, it doesn't make it right, but it genuinely happens, eh? So I'm not gonna, you've got to be realistic, yeah, it does genuinely happen. But anyway, it's probably better doing it during the day for that reason as well. I know, like, going dead slow in the small hours. Traffic. So the tour bus turned up here onto Kingsway. This is actually a 70mph limit. It was back then as well. The tour bus was only able to do 38, so I'm just going to do 40 because there's no reason why I can't do it. I'm just doing 40, bugger it. You know what I mean? If they want to get past, they get past. I'm doing 40 and I've got an extra. I'm doing 39, so you know what, they can pass me if they want. If they've got enough room to do it, not having anybody up. I'm doing the tour bus exercise, and doing this exercise, then 30 to get the tour bus. Spend a lot of time and effort doing it and petrol, and then doing it properly. And if I think I'm going dead slow, because I'm doing 40 and a 70, that's alright. There's nobody bothering me anyway. They're not passing me at any problem, so that's fine. That's good. The tour bus wouldn't even reach us. It'd probably be doing about 35. So I'm going to start slowing down about 37. I'm doing 36 now because I'm coming up for a set of traffic lights anyway. So well, I'm actually doing 38. So there's nothing big trying to pass us around. There's nobody behind us, so it's no problem. So it comes into a 40mph, it comes into a 50mph limit anyway, coming up ahead, so I'll just be doing 38. The tour bus continued on. There wasn't any traffic lights back then there. It was just a circle. The tour bus just went up here, because the next stop's Camperdown Zoo, Camperdown Country Park. I went right through to the zoo bit, and I came back out the same way. I'm going to do the same. So that's a 50mph limit. I just did 38. I remember the tour bus with the Gardner engine maxed out at 38. I remember all the noises it used to make as well. 4-speed. It was a Daimler Fleetliner with the dynamic semi-automatic gearbox, hydraulic controls. It was a semi-automatic. So I'm doing 38, 39, stroke 39. So I'm not being a pain in the arse to anybody behind, because it's a dual carriageway and there's nobody behind anyway. And if they went past, they could get past, no bother. See, I could have a mechanical issue with my car for all they know, because I'm doing 39 or 50, it doesn't mean I hit a day 50, yeah, but there could be something wrong with the car, okay? But I've got a good reason to be doing it anyway. I did a time exercise, so I'm not being a nuisance to anybody. They can pass me if it was, they'll pass me no bother if they want it. So, but the tour bus couldn't even reach 40. It was an old hard edge 1976, but I think the governor let it down a bit, because some of the Fleetliners in Atlantis could reach up to 44mph. See, normally I'd be up here about 55, I'd be keeping up with the flow, but this is, I'm doing an exercise right now, so I feel a bit embarrassed doing this speed, but it's not causing any problems because there's nobody behind. Okay? But I've got a good reason to be doing it and actually doing this exercise, and I want to do it properly. Yeah? It's important to me that I do this, so I'm doing it. Anyway, tour bus came off here at this slip road. This is coming into the next stop, which is Camperdown Country Park. Camperdown Country Park. It goes right through, right to the bottom where the zoo is. I'm going to do the same. So I didn't get any bother with any traffic at all. I was dreading that bit. I thought I can walk really happy, but not a problem. There wasn't a menace on the road whatsoever there doing that. Not a problem at all. It was only a one-off. I didn't normally do that, but I need to do this experiment properly. Anyway, I remember them talking about the Timex as well. Timex, which is where they made the watches, Dundee based factory. It's no longer that now. It's something to do with bathroom fixtures now. JVC or something like that. Something to do with bathroom fixtures, but it's up there on the right. I remember them talking about the Timex on the tour bus. It's a 3-letter thing, yeah. JTC, that's it. JTC. That's what it is now. Now, coming out of Camperdown Country Park, this is the main entrance. Tour bus came through here. Right. Now I'll just park my time going through here, as you would anyway, because it is a camper park. You're just going to take your time. I'm going to do about 20 mile, 10 mile an hour's limit, but I'll do about 10. Well, once set right, and then no speeding in here, right? But probably 15 or something, yeah, just 15, 18, but slow right down it for obvious reasons. But for the record, I'm doing 10 mile an hour, right? Once we get past this, so tour bus would have done about this, because it wasn't a 10 back then. I think it was about 20 or something back then. But tour bus would have done roughly the same. So I'm going to do the same speed roughly anyway. Authenticate it. Camperdown Country Park. So this adds to authenticness as well, getting a wee delay there. Let's say the tour bus would have spent time manoeuvring around because it's a big bus, whereas in a car you get around much easier. So I'm doing about the same speed as what the tour bus would have done. I would have been about the speed I'm doing, right? Which is about right, okay? But for in the record, I'm just saying I'm doing 10, right? But I can't win. But this is roughly what I was doing, so. It's common sense. See anything on the road, bikes or pedestrians, you just slow it down. Like you would do. Bloody speed bumps, they weren't there. I hate speed bumps. Anyway, continuing on. Camperdown Country Park. We've got a Camperdown house further up on the right. So if you go along a bit, you'll not see it in this video because of the trees, but people used to go on and off at the bottom stop where the zoo is, but of course they could explore the park. But it was a hop on hop off service. There was only one bus running. That was the whole purpose of the open top bus. You could come on, pay once. I can't remember what the ticket price was. I think it was about what, 10 or 8 quid or something. I can't remember. That was 30 years ago, mind you. But they did run the season right up till 1989, so it started in 95 right up to 1999, so there was 5 seasons, 5 over the 4 years that they'd done it. Obviously they had the first one, and then they had all the rest up to 99, so that's 5 over the 4 year period. And then doing I think 97 it was more or less the same, 98 and 99 were pretty much, so 1996 when it just did that wee difference bit after the Verdant Works, as you'll see further on in this drive. You actually might see the Camperdown house up on your right. Look at the 2 o'clock position, you'll see it. Back then it was bustling, the park was a lot better, there was a lot more going on. Today it's depressing, there's not even a golf course, they've closed it down. That house has been closed for ages, it's all boarded up, it looks depressing, it's not very nice. It should be done up, renovated and bustling with life and activities like once upon a time old Camperdown Park used to be. Now it's just nothing like what it used to be. It's not as tidy as it used to be, it's just not got the same atmosphere as it used to be. I had a better atmosphere back then. Now it's just, you're meant to come into a park to feel better. Sometimes I come out feeling worse because it's depressing. Just the way, modern way of things. But anyway, continuing on, this is where the zoo is, it'll come up for it. I'll just do what the bus done. He used to just come down the bottom here, turn and go back. Time duration so far 28 minutes, mileage is 8.3, and it used to come down to about here. Come down to about here and it would turn basically, so I'm going to do pretty much what that done, pretty much the same. So in the car I could do it much easier, in the bus it was stopping, loading up, offloading, having to reverse. I mean, I got around no bother, but it was obviously a lot slower than what it would be in the car. But anyway, I'll just take all that into consideration when I do the analysis at the time. So this is now me heading back the way it came in. So the tour bus did basically just this, heading back the way it came in. The next stop would be the Verdant Works. except for the last tour, where the next stop would have been the Law Hall, then the Verdun Works, because they did the Law Hall as an addition, only on the last tour of the day. So if I recall correctly, it was 4 o'clock from Crichton Street, and I think it started from 9 o'clock in the morning and ran till 4. So I would arrive back about 5:15, and that was finished for the day. I ran 7 days a week, I think. Sure it did. I did a run on a Sunday, can't remember now. There was a half day on a Saturday. I can't actually remember if it ran at the weekends. I think it did. There was a half day on a Sunday maybe. I just can't actually remember. I'll have to check back on my mate, okay. I'll have to look back onto that one, but I'm sure it ran on the weekends, I mean, that'd be the highlight, wouldn't it? That's when people would most likely use it. So I ran through the week, all day, every day, right from May. It was around about the middle of May, right to about the middle of September, I think. So I ran for about 4 months, June, July, August. I ran for about 4 months. Ganged Friday. They were based in Edinburgh. I had about 2 or 3 tours in Edinburgh. They also had Leyland Atlanteans as well, ex-Nottingham buses, running on the Edinburgh fleet. And sometimes if the tour bus in Dundee, if it broke down or needed serviced or something, they would send one of the other fleetliners, or they would send an Atlantean from Edinburgh to cover it. I remember that. Well. But also Tayside buses in 1996 ran a tour bus as well, the Volvo Ilse WTS 272T, fleet number 300, Mark II Volvo Ilse. We've got it in our bus club for restoration. I've driven that in recent years, with bus rallies and that. But that bus was originally, it started off as a service bus like any other, and about the early 80s they converted it to an open top bus. I think it suffered either a low bridge strike, or it was a fire or something upstairs. It might have been a low bridge strike or something. I don't know, I think if I heard correctly, that's what it was. And instead of repairing it, they converted it into an open topper. I think that's what the story was for it. It wasn't purposely built as an open topper. It originally started off as a service bus. And that done the east half of Dundee. That started from Crichton Street and that went east out to Broughty Ferry, and it done the Law Hall on every journey. It done Keeler's Factory, Keeler's Shaw Street Factory, Mains Castle. It went to places, where tourists would like to go. The tour bus we've got now, I would say, should go to places that went, what was done back in these days, and where the Guide Friday bus went, or the Tayside bus. The one that's running now, that's all I'm going to say. I reckon it would be better if it done what these tour buses do. I'll say that, but that's it. I will also say that it does a lot of doubling back as well. It goes through the hill tilt, which is, well, I've heard it being referred to as notorious for just the area, but it doesn't mean that it is. It's just what I've heard. It's not what I'm going to say about it, but it's only what I've heard. The others have said. You can make your own mind up. It goes through it anyway, and it comes back that way. Then it doubles back on itself and various other bits. No, it's not a circular route as such. It only goes across the Tay Bridge when weather permitting and time permitting, so it's not consistent either. And you can't get off across the bridge neither. So I kind of think I would do it differently if it was me doing that tour bus. That's all I'll say on that. That's all I'll say on today's tour bus. So I'm not going to say any more about it, because it's not what this is about. So, tour bus comes along here next. It goes down by the Lochie bypass. If this were the last one, it would be going to the Law. I'll tell you where it would go. I'm not doing it on this one, but I'll say where it will go when we get to that turning point, to the turn-off point where it would have went. But the standard tours was this way. Over the flyover, Kingsway. So we're going over the flyover now, over the Kingsway, we're coming into Drybury. So I'll just keep the speed to the tour bus speeds. So the mileage has been 9.7, however, because I forgot to reset the chipometer, I had about 0.5 miles to it, so we'll say it's 10 point, well it's just turned to 9.8, so it's 10.3 miles duration so far. Time duration on the stopwatch, 35 minutes, also collaborates that with the video as well, because there isn't any pauses for diversionary parts. The video would remain on anyway to record any diversionary parts, we can refer back to it, but I would stop the stopwatch on the wrist with the bear. So far, don't need to do that. The times are in sync. It's 35 minutes duration so far. Coming down on Cambrangus Road. Now on the last tour of the day, when we get to the circle, would be the last tour of the day. The tour bus would have went left here at the circle and on Hairstone Road. I would have turned left and I would have went right along there to Lawton, on Strathmore, and then on the Strathmore Avenue, then on the Lawside Road. But this is the normal tour. I'm going down the bypass. I would have, as I say, on the left one, I would have. On the last one I would have went left there, and then I would have went up the Dundee Law, and then it would just pick up from where, you know, the original tour would pass by on Durham, in the Durham, on Lochie Road at the end of Durham, as you'll see that on the left as you go down. But this is going down the Lochie bypass, so the tour bus was driving. And I remember once on a Friday morning I was doing the shopping, I took the bus, the circular, I think it was 11, and I saw the tour bus passing here, and I saw my mate working upstairs. He was a live guide. Not only did he drive the tour bus, he also done the guide as well, that had a live guide on it, and I saw him standing there, just when I was at the front with the microphone and the busload of people on that, because I was going to meet up with him later on that Friday, on that Friday afternoon for the last tour, I think at 3 o'clock when I was going to meet him. And I saw him there about going on 9:45 or something, which is roughly the time it would have been, because it's 37 minutes went by now, so it would have been on the hour at left. It would have been 9 o'clock at left, so it would have been roughly about 9:37 if it was going the speed I went, but add on the stoppages, so it would have been about 9:15, because I would have got the 9:30 number 11 bus service, bus service with Minas-Hill to Lochie, and it used to be a food giant. It used to be originally a Fine Fair supermarket, and it changed to food giant. So I went in there to get a shop, get the number 12 back, unload the shopping, and we go around in the 17, Whitfield, and back in the town then and get the bus, because I went on bus trips, and bus hauls when I was a teenager. I was a bus enthusiast. So I also got a Saturday bus up from the town to Montefieth, and I had my dinner at the Parlour restaurant. Then I would get the Saturday bus back at the 73 or something, or 74 or 75, and then I would go back in the centre of Dundee and be back in time for the 3 o'clock tour bus. And I would go around on the tour bus a couple of times, and my mate would be guiding. My mate was guiding it. He was doing the live guide commentary. And there were some times where he would be driving it as well, you know, on other days or other shifts. But anyway, continuing down the Logie, the tour bus came down this way there, the live commentaries talking about it, as opposed to the ones that are there now. Today it's just a tape recorder, and you just hit the stage, the tape recorder. I've driven the tour bus now, but it's you know, put headphones on it, or earphones in. It's not the same as a live tour guide's obviously more expensive, because you've got to pay 2 members of staff, of course, you've got to train them up. But it's not the same. But Tayside, even back in the days, the Tayside buses had a tape commentary. They didn't have headphones, however. They did have a loudspeaker that played instead, so the whole street would hear it. I remember that. There was the speakers that played the commentary all loud for the passengers to hear. Whereas nowadays it's set earphones you plug into the side and listen to it through them. But of course the live commentary, the live tour bus, that was a live guide, a live commentary, it was spoke through a microphone, and again it was done through a loudspeaker, so that was just the norm back then. So yeah, you'd even hear the Guide Fridays live tour commentary out aloud, the whole street would be able to hear it also. That traffic light's on the left is the end of Durrock Crescent. That's where the tour bus would have met back onto its route again, having come down off the Law Hill. So as I say, en route to the Verdant Works. When it done the last journey, it would have come down, it would have came down through Dundee Law, and it would have rejoined the route here at this junction to continue on down the Lochie Road to Verdant Works. You're going to see the Verdant Works in a few moments in this drive. So this is where it would have met. I remember we met in the multi-stories. Remember that, you probably remember himself. What I'm referring to on the last tour of the season, these multis, Durrock, colour of it, the pink ones. You'll know what I'm talking about if he's watching this video. Well, we'll leave it at that. Anyway, tour bus continued on down here, regardless of what it was. All of them came down here. So let's say all the routes were the same, more or less, to this. So I'm doing the Lochie Road. I'm going to turn down Smelly's Lane. I've got to try and get this correct, because I don't often go down this way myself, but I think it's this one. Blinshell Road it is, Blinshell Street. Oh, okay. So I might have made I'm sure it was this one anyway. Because the roads are right, so there's a slight route change, but because they're doing construction work, you'll get the general idea of it anyway. It's not that much of a difference. Yeah, it could have been Blinshell Road I went down, and I went straight on to the Verdant Works. But because you can see here that they've got these roadworks, construction works, there's no danger of getting down there. So I'm going to obviously just to be a little bit of a diversion to this. But something tells me actually it might have been the other one. Could it actually be? Maybe it came in here as well, but anyway, it doesn't really overly matter too much, because I think actually it came down. I might even just done what I done. It might have been that. It might have come in slightly different, but there isn't much in it anyway. There's not a lot. It doesn't really matter a great deal, because it's more or less, about 99% the same. There's Verdant Works on the left anyway, and the tour bus definitely used to stop outside here, outside the Verdant Works, just up there a wee bit, just where that cars are, so about the Blonde Road. It would have stopped a bit more or less here anyway. So distance 12 miles, 42 minutes. The bus would have stopped a bit here actually. So that's the Verdant Works, and then after the Verdant Works I went back to the start, back to Crichton Street, which is the start-finish light. So I'm going to do the 1996 version, or 1996 onwards version, to get back to the Crichton Street. Because the 1995 version is impossible now, because it is literally a pedestrian zone in front of the McManus Gallery. Whereas back in 1995 it wasn't. Traffic was allowed through it, but no longer possible now. So from 1996 onwards, I went back to Crichton Street this way. This is the Hawkhill Westport, coming into Westport. So from 1995 it would have went left at the circle here and continued on to Ward Road. It would have turned right on the Ward Road. So it would have went left, then right, and then right along Ward Road, right past the McManus Gallery, down Commercial Street, then it would have turned right onto the High Street, along the High Street, and turned left back into Crichton Street. That's what it done in 1995. Where, left in the circle there, then it would have went right along Ward Road, right along to Commercial Street, down Commercial Street. It would have turned right on the High Street, along the High Street, and then left on the Crichton Street. Well, obviously it can't do that now. Nothing can do that now. But the McManus Gallery part cannot be done now anyway. So from 1996 onwards it went down the way it's going now, exactly. Doing the West Market Gate, which is wearing that now. And then it would turn left here onto the High Street, but onto the Nether Gate, then onto the High Street, which runs on the High Street basically, and then turning right onto Crichton Street, right back to the start-finish line, or the start-finish bus stop. That's where the tour starts and ends basically, at Crichton Street, just opposite the, just literally where I was parked, stone throw down for up there, because I was parked not in the bus stop, but I didn't stop in the bus stop. Well, it did, it stopped. The bus at part then stopped right opposite the Iron place, whatever it was called. The Oxfam shop, and there was a bakery shop as well, right next to the bus stop. So this is turning onto Nethergate, which leads onto the High Street, Dundee High Street. Tour bus came along here. And we're in a bit now, they would say, hope you enjoyed your tour on the tour bus. Welcome you back, something like that anyway. I can't remember the live commentary, but it was certainly rounding off about here anyway, coming to the end of the tour more or less. Where that bus is just turned down, that's Crichton Street, that's where I'm turning. And it's going to be stopping at the bus stop where the tour bus stopped. Although the pavements would resurfaced to be laid out slightly at these angles where the bus, it used to just be the side of the road. It was just as simple as that back then. But now it's at these sort of bus stop angles. So where that iron photo is exactly where the bus is pretty much exactly where the tour bus is. Slight update to the 12.7 miles, it would have been probably a 0.5 mile on that, it would have been 13.2 miles, but because it's 0.7 I'll just round it to say 13 miles. 13 miles and 46 minutes for the Gig Friday 1996 version of the tour bus, which is more or less a fair enough accurate. It's as accurate as could be, give or take. So this one's regarding the Guide Friday tour bus. So I can't really show too many of them, but that's just to give you an idea. It's a tour bus operator that ran in the 90s, and Dundee had one. So I done an experiment with the old Guide Friday 1996 tour bus version of the route. So the exercise that I done, I recorded the whole footage from the starting point, which was Crichton Street in the centre of Dundee. Then the next tourist bus stop was the City Quay, where the Unicorn is, and the North Car Lightship. Then after that I went to the Discovery Point, then the Botanical Gardens, then it went along to the Swallow Hotel, then it went up the Kingsway, and then to Camperdown Park, went down as far as the zoo, and then it came out again, then it came back at Camperdown Park. Then it headed for the Verdant Works, going via the Lochie bypass and the Lochie Road. After that, I went back to Crichton Street via the West Market Gate and the High Street. If it was pre-1996, the first season in Dundee was 1995, which I highlighted on the video, which we'll be doing in a separate video anyway. But when it came at the Verdant Works, it used to go into the town via the Ward Road, and then along the front of McManus Gallery, and then it turned down Commercial Street, and then it went and turned right onto the High Street, along the High Street, and turned left onto Crichton Street. That's what it done on its first season during the summer of 1995. But when it was coming back for its second season in 1996, they changed the road layouts in the town, and you couldn't drive along the front of the McManus Gallery, so the tour bus went down the West Market Street and then turned left onto the Nethergate instead, and then driven along onto the High Street, because it leads onto the High Street, and then it turns right onto Crichton Street. Just a minor difference. So from there on then, it done that route. From 1996 onwards, it done that route into the town, as far as I recall. So, starting point, that's all the places there. Verdant Works. The last tour of the day would go up the Law Hill. So, before it went to the Verdant Works, it would come out of Camperdown Park, then it would go along Cooper Angus Road, then it would turn left onto Hairstane Road, or Harefield Road, I keep getting them mixed up. But along that road anyway, it leads on to Strathmore Avenue. And then once it goes along Strathmore Avenue, it then turns right onto Lawside Road, up to the top, turns left, and then eventually that road will lead you to the top of Dundee Law. The bus used to go up to the top of Dundee Law, then it would come down on basically along Durrup Crescent, where it would pick up its normal route from the Lochie Road down to the, I think it was Smelly's Lane or something it was called. It turned right down to that ancient, well, that old central industrial estate bit where the Verdant Works were, and still is. We went along there and then it just finished the tour after it goes to Crichton Street. But the distance anyway, the complete tour bus distance, I had driven it today and it comes to about 13 miles approximately. In my car I drove the same speeds as the tour bus would go. The tour bus wasn't capable of going any faster than 38 mile an hour. It was a Daimler Fleetliner 1976X Nottingham bus, converted into a tour bus for Guide Friday, had a Gardner engine, had the semi-automatic gearbox, and it was maximum speed was restricted to 38 miles per hour. So I had done no more than that in my car when I was replicating the route. The bus stops, it was a hop-on, hop-off service. Tourists could get on, get a ticket, pay once, and they could hop on, hop off along the routes at the stopping places. But obviously I didn't do that in my car, I just drove the route in a winner without stopping. And it took me 46 minutes to do the 13 miles. So, basically that's what I've just said there. That's the reg of the bus. I remember it well. I met a good mate from there actually, and still mates to this day from the tour bus. He drove in it. He was originally a guide, and then he done driving as well. He became a driver, and from 1995 we've been good friends with him ever since. In fact, on 30th anniversary of the day, maybe do something, catch up with him again for old time's sake. But I've seen him since, like. But anyway, besides that, back to the subject. So analysis, there's 7 main stops along the tour bus route. The tour bus was allocated 1 hour, 60 minutes to do the full trip. If I remember right, it started from 9 in the morning and it finished at about 5:15 when it got back to Crichton Street. The 4 o'clock one from Crichton Street was the last tour of the day, was done the Dundee Law. So, first stop was the, start-finish point was Crichton Street. Second one was the City Quay. Third point, Discovery Point. Fourth one, Botanical Gardens. Fifth one, Swallow Hotel. Sixth one, Cartmondale Park. Seventh one was the Verdant Works. And then back to the start. And it was 14, that would give it an average time for the stops of, well, there's 14 minutes, because the car journey took me 46 minutes, that's generous. By 14 minutes is a generous time left over. Because with a car, it accelerates quicker than the tour bus, it's smaller than the tour bus, it manoeuvres quicker than the tour bus along junctions and corners. And I done it in 46 minutes. If the tour bus went round without stopping and done exactly what I done with my car by driving round, it would be probably even longer than 46 minutes, which means it's even less time than 14 minutes to spare to allow for stoppages, etc, etc. The stops would obviously include loading and unloading passengers. The tour bus driver and guide would probably have to answer questions from tourists as well. All that's included in a mere 40 minutes at best, and maybe even less than that. So yeah, there we go. So that only leaves, that's how I done the calculations. I just divided the times, 40 minutes divided by the number of stops, which is 7, that equals roughly 2 minutes per stop. That's only 120 seconds per stop, and that's at best. And it did stop at all the stops. It stopped at every one of them. 2 minutes, that's nothing, that's impossible. That's to include loading people up and down the stairs, saying see you later to the tour guide and bus driver, and asking questions as to when it's coming back, etc. 2 minutes, that was all. So, when I remember it, I don't remember the tour bus ever running late. I wasn't under any pressure or anything like that. As I say, I mentioned about the being slow. So yeah, this would mean the Guide Friday tour bus would be, if it were only given that time, in today's time, the way the time is now, 14 minutes, that would mean the Guide Friday tour bus would be very tight for time. It would always be late. It would be like the current tour bus today, which doesn't have as much time to do the route. The current tour bus today is a modern bus, it's quicker, it has only an hour to do the tour, which is shorter than the Guide Friday one. There's just a single driver, it's a tape recorder for the audio, and it is running tight for time all the time. I don't remember the Guide Friday tour bus ever being like that. it seemed to always have plenty of time, which I remember it having. It was relaxing, there was time, there was no pressure in any way. I remember the tour bus sitting at Crichton Street for sometimes over 5 minutes, and it was only given an hour to do the tour. So it's physically impossible now, so I've kind of proved that time is sped up. And I've got the footage of the drive, because I recorded it all in there. So that's just an effort to try to make, as an exercise to try and actually prove that time is sped up. Because I remember the times clearly. There's probably, like as I say, with the one I'd done earlier with the bus timetable in the 17A route. It's actually physically proving that time has sped up. And I know and I feel it has sped up by a factor of 2. There's other things I could do as well that I remember being able to do back in the earlier days that I cannot do now, no matter how hard I try. And it's nothing to do with me getting older and slowing down like it's been suggested. That's not the case at all. Definitely not. Definitely not. I'm actually going faster, working harder to try and get the same things done, and still cannot do it. Back then, it was easy. I didn't even cross my mind that there wouldn't be enough time to do it. But now, it's impossible to do. And I'm trying to actually physically prove it. But I know and always have known that time has sped up. Certainly within the last 10 years, it's sped up by a factor of 2, no less than doubled. Maybe even more. And it seems to be at summer times where there's perhaps more sun energy, as we're told. What's up there is the sun, is what we're learned to be told. It's, but there's certainly more light, daylight, and might have more energy, might have a factor in it. It might be that's the time where, because I feel like summer, sometimes the time just flies in for some reason in summer. I've noticed that lately. That could be when it accelerates fastest it is most, and then it just averages out through the year. It doesn't slow back down again, it remains faster. But then the following year it'll accelerate further again round about summer, and it will remain that way. So it just keeps speeding up. But at the moment it's certainly no less than 2, and I'm being modest about it. Modest, right? It's no less than doubled. And I've tried to prove it this way for now anyway, on this part of the video. So I hope you enjoyed my video and found it interesting, and see what else I put on my channel, and thanks for watching.